Okay, we are live. We are live. It is a couple minutes late today. I got distracted by a call, but it's good to be here. Let's make sure my audio is working. Good morning, Sharon. All right, it's a good omen when everything technologically runs. We've already got some good folks here. Good morning, Sharon. Today is going to be a grab bag of stuff, but a lot of questions came up this week for people who are thinking about migrating. Thank you. I'm glad it sounds good. Thanks for checking in. The idea is there are platforms out there, including with WordPress, certain things that people have been using, and they find it to be a struggle to figure out how they're going to move over to the new setup in Minute Launch. And so I'm going to break it down today. And because I like to work like without a net, let's just go to Minute Launch and let's make a page. And we're going to use this to build something on the fly to keep track of what I'm going to share with you. The stuff I'm going to share with you, I know pretty intimately because I've been doing it now for some time. And one of the biggest benefits of the Minute Launch is the pay now, pay later in terms of what you're going to have happen. If you are doing this for yourself or you're doing it for a client, the debate you're going to have, which we're going to review, is am I going to pay now or pay later with the time and aggravation? So how to migrate customers and clients. So let's break this down. And let me see if I can get away with this, by the way. That is too small. That is too small. That's not bad. Okay. And I don't need the post block, so I can make this a little bigger. So let's talk about an outline. First of all, I'm going to make a list view, and I can just use the tools here with the basic list. Number one, concerns are ongoing business or new one. And I'm going to make this bigger because I can see it will be helpful. There we go. Number two, one time or subscription revenue. Number three is outside services already or just WP. Number four, excuse me. I'm going to put it in the category of how big is your list? Hey, baby, how big is your list? Next would be, do you currently have something new that you're trying to do for marketing automation? Have ideas you can't get done now? Number six, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cost comparison of infrastructure. Infrastructure. And lastly is let's do cost comparison of time versus benefit. What I love about this is I'm going to end up just using the very same tools and in doing so, build an outline, which is really a metaphor for what we're actually providing. So let's talk about the first one, ongoing business or a new one. The conversations that I have with folks with regard to this is they have a business that maybe already has customers and they know they need a feature. For example, they want to launch a modern newsletter and maybe they happen to be using, like this is actually yesterday, I had a very smart and lovely person call me who was using kit.com, which by the way, of all the SaaS products, kit.com is actually pretty competent. I would give it pretty good ratings in terms of simplicity and so forth. But it comes with the same downsides that we experience with all of these situations. We're going to talk about ownership and control, ongoing costs. Even though he's a nice guy, Nathan Barry essentially holds his future in your hand and that of your clients. They charge on the basis of a growing number of contacts, which is mental. It's mental. This makes no sense at all. So we're going to break this down. But like here, even though you can get into some pretty, reasonable stuff, you're going to be immediately at, first of all, monthly, you're going to be immediately at 59. But watch what happens. This is where they're not being disingenuous. They're being very transparent here. But just look what happens. 1,000 people is not a big list. Okay. If you go to even 5,000, you're at 111. If you go to 10,000, you're at 167. They're charging you essentially for the electrons that are being sent down the cable of your cable modem, which I realize they have to do something to charge you. This is the wrong way to charge. I am not a big fan of Go High Level compared to what we have, but I will tell you that Go High Level's pricing is the only one of the SaaS CRMs. Go High Level, highlevel.com. It's the only one of the SaaS CRMs that actually is honest about what they're charging you for. So for some reason, they're not putting the pricing up front. Let's see if I put pricing, if I can get to it. So this is their pricing. You'll notice a comparable similarity to what I offer. This is honest. 97 for one site, unlimited for 297. Because they realize, because it's the truth, they realize that you're basically only one human being or you're multiple human beings with somebody like you in between. And I once asked Ben Gabler, who is the founder of Rocket, who we use as our hosting partner, why it's possible that I can use the agency account and get the very same thing that their $30 retail site gives me, except I can have 10 or 100 or 200 or 1,000 clients. And he said very simply, because there's only one of you. And I'm the only one that's allowed to talk to their customer service in that case. Well, similarly, high level. So this is a problem faced by many people who are probably interested in having you move them over to the minute launch setup. They're like, the cost of this thing is growing exponentially. And when you really want to be successful, this is counterintuitive because they're taxing you for your success. If you're smart enough to get 115,000 people on your list, they don't give a hoot how many people actually buy or how many people pay you or what they pay you. They're going to charge you $939 just to have 4 kilobits of data of names sitting in a database somewhere. It's mental. Sharon says they changed the wording on the pricing page. The unlimited is focused to agencies instead of unlimited. I think you mean on Go High Level, right? Yeah, right. Exactly. Go High Levels make sense because they realize, as I realize, that's why I give out all my stuff for unlimited use, that I only have one of each of you. So if you pay, again, I'm cost comparing because that's what we're here for today. If you're looking at what the minute launch kit offers, I double down on this even. So the pricing here, if you go for the pre-made one, or if you go for our new version, if you go to the monthly combo is $97 for all the features. You can use that on an unlimited number of sites. Now, granted, the hosting is just one site, but if you're using, let's say, the option of adding a la carte's hosting, that actually does make sense because in that particular case, you're not getting a hosting account elsewhere for the client. And you're also able to get less than the cost of retail from me because this is the same thing that Rocket offers for $30 a month. So, and last but not least, I try to be transparent with this because if you, in fact, want to get an agency account yourself at Rocket, awesome. That's why I've made this a la carte. Everything here can be built a la carte. You don't have to take the hosting. But with a software bundle, even with the unlimited email, if you are basically representing thousands of clients and you're the only one talking to me, God bless you. You only have to pay $97 a month or $77 a month because I only have one of you. So this is one of the main prerogatives behind a move. These are not the worst offenders. I mean, Kit is probably the best pricing. The worst offender of all is HubSpot. HubSpot is almost criminally evil in terms of their pricing because in today's world, first of all, they lie to people. They lie because they tell people that they need to do things like the training, and the training for $17,000, I've had clients come to me, is sitting down watching YouTube videos with somebody. But in terms of the actual pricing, notice what they're not doing. And again, I'm not here to pick on HubSpot. I could care less. I'm just saying why people are not stupid anymore. You go to pricing. This is painful to even look at. So for an individual, just an individual, this is basically a lie because there is nothing you get for free tools. When you go to the marketing starter, it says $15 a month per seat. So that means each person who logs into your account would have to pay 15 bucks. But when you do the same thing, when you pay monthly, that goes to 20. And then when you start doing the slider, which I don't even know where they put the slider in here, but this is for 1,000 marketing contacts. Let's see if this takes me to the slider. Here we go. Let's do it. All of a sudden, you're going up to 40. at 5,000 people. And somewhere they used to have a slider, but now they're saying you have to call them. I've had clients that are spending insane amounts of money. To get the actual features that you get in Minute Launch, you'd have to go to 890 a month or more. And that's only 2,000 marketing contacts, which is a joke because essentially you're going to very quickly go up into the hundreds and hundreds a month. So, besides the disingenuous nature of how they treat the customers with what they need to know, the pricing is just absolutely astronomical and insane in a world where this can be done with the Fluent CRM plugin inside of WordPress. If you go to enterprise, this is just a joke. 3,600 a month is just a joke. So, no offense, Dharmesh Shah is a billionaire. He's far smarter than I am because he got into this racket early enough that they're locked in. But I would not send anybody I know to HubSpot for any reason. Salesforce, little different. Still really expensive. It's clearly enterprise. However, there's one instance where I don't even know if they put pricing on here, to be honest. I don't think they do. You literally have to talk to them, I think. There's one exception here. With Salesforce, I've had clients that run their back end business. So it's equally way vintage, way out of control old. There's different versions of it, between Lightning or Classic and this and that and this and that. And it's a whole all day long affair just to learn how to use the interface. But there are companies that are big companies that use this. One of the things I say to them is, you can separate your marketing automation from your back end. And that's what, in fact, we do. We'll talk about that in a second. So, in other words, if you have clients that are coming from HubSpot or Salesforce or even ActiveCampaign, let's just do one more because this admittedly broke my heart when they screwed everybody over. We used to use ActiveCampaign, and it's a Chicago company. Really took people to town. I don't know what's wrong with them, why they felt this was a good idea, but they just had Salesforce aspirations. So their pricing model just goes out the window. So first of all, notice how they do it backwards, which I don't know if this is a clever strategy, but they go right to left to right. They're doing it more expensive on the left. For 1,000, and this may or may not be monthly, I don't know. It says $15 a month for starter, but you don't get anything here. You get like limits on how many actions you can do. You can only do certain things, email only for landing page templates. I mean, it's just starter is a joke. Plus is a joke. Pro and enterprise is where you start to get like basically the features that you need, but just call it enterprise. You're at 145 a month. If you go to 5,000, you're at 375 a month. For what ActiveCampaign does, no comparison. All the things you can do in ActiveCampaign, you can do in Fluent CRM. I have yet to find over thousands of clients, one person that could not switch. Now, is there something that you might not be able to do? I'm sure. But in the practical world, very little, if any, have I ever found slowed anybody down. And more importantly, the disrespect and contempt for their customers, because this pricing change happened after COVID. They tripled their pricing overnight. And their API and the other things are not even that reliable for what you're getting. So my takeaway from all of this is if you have an ongoing business or your client does, ask them what they're paying. Ask them how complex it is to operate for themselves. Well, for, and let's do both. Themselves, their team. In other words, there's instead of using the one WordPress dashboard where all the same things are in there and all the metaphors, all the tools, all the actual content, you have to have somebody trained how to log into and how to do two-factor authentication and all the various things that have to be learned on another platform. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Sharon says, I have a new client that was on Go High Level and their website was launched with a lot of dummy data. Plus I found, well, short story, I was working with the team at Go High Level, and while I respect their pricing, I found it very difficult, and that's why I no longer work with them, because on a comparison of what the clients could do just by using WordPress with Fluent CRM and the Minute Launch, I couldn't in good faith continue to tell people to use High Level. I kept having to say, listen, there's something else you could be using. And even at 97 a month, It just wasn't worth it. We've already got the same tools. So if it's for yourself, it's an easy comparison because this starts to add up. If you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month, okay, even 199 a month equals about $2,400 a year, approximately. Let's put a tilde in there. Okay, $2,400 a year is 6 times more than what somebody would pay for just the software bundle. It is 24 and a half times the 97. This is 24 times more than minute launch. Okay. Now, in fairness, there are a couple costs that we're going to have to take into consideration, like, except for SMTP, which is about $20 a month. Okay. So we'll talk about SMTP, but other than the SMTP service, you've got a huge amount of leverage for yourself. And if you're talking to a client and they're using one of these things, that's an immediate win because that savings goes away. But also the ongoing ownership and control, which we're going to talk about. I'm going to put in here ownership and control and SaaS founder madness. Okay. So when you're talking about the ongoing business, what they're going to be interested in is like, I have 0 clients. I don't care what we use. Or I have like a livelihood here. I'm making a good living. I don't want to screw up what I've got. You have to be very cognizant, and I think it's an important comparison, that the migration or the move is not going to affect them in that way. Why? Because think of it like a health club where you've got a great facility and you've been running it forever, and then you want to build new facilities. It's a better idea, which is the heart of this whole process, not to tear down the old health club in any near term. Like, even after the new one is built and people are using it, you can keep the old health club, the old facility. You can keep the old services for a time certain until the customer or yourself is clear about the migration, right? So let's be clear. Be clear that you will keep the old processes until the new ones are in place. And by the way, I'm going to keep this up so this page will exist for notes if you guys are curious. Okay. Why is it that people are so concerned about the revenue? Well, they'll be more concerned if it's a subscription revenue. If their livelihood is recurring, then any churn could be expensive, i.e., times 12 equals annual. So for example, let's say they're doing something like I am, it's $97 a month, right? That's $100 roughly times 12. That's $1,200 a year. If that's what they've got, then it can be very expensive if they lose 100 people, right? So for example, 97 a month times 12 equals, I'm going to round it, equals 1,200 minus 3 times 12 minus 36 is 1,164. My brain still functions a year, I think. Times 10 people, okay, that's $11,640. That's real money. So if those folks churn out, that's expensive, and that's a real consideration. So going back to what we're going to appease folks on, or if you're thinking about it yourself, by not shutting things down, you're not going to lose the revenue. Now, I'm going to show you or talk to you, how do we do this? One of the ways we do this is we keep the services externally or internally running. So I'm going to make a note, keep services running. Let's say, for example, you have something like Kit or Active Campaign or something else that's taking the money outside. Those subscription folks can be added into the new system and they can have tags given to them, but they can continue to exist on the old system as far as the money. So separate money from marketing automation. Here's an example. Let's say I have 5,000 people on a list, or my client does, and I know that I got to get the heck out of Salesforce or HubSpot or Active Campaign or whatever. If for some strange reason I'm currently taking money in those systems, you'll just continue to keep those services and subscriptions running while you add them into the new service with the proper tags. But then you're going to incentivize people through what I call lemonade stand invitations. So money continues to charge at service while you incentivize folks to add their payment info to the new site. Lemonade stand. Okay, what do I mean by that? The lemonade stand is you say, oh my God, Sharon, we've got this incredible new facility where you can go get your stuff. You can still get your stuff over at the old site or whatever the old deliver was, but just to make sure that you can get in there, will you just be a dear and run over there and add your credit card so that you don't miss out on anything? And that's much different than if you said to somebody, hey, we need your credit card because we want to keep charging you or we want to charge you again. So I will say, focus on words that emphasize the cool, new, improved, and FOMO, fear of missing out. Hey, to make sure you can get your cool new stuff at the new site, please double check, click your credit card and other information are accurate. When I say this, nobody says no. I mean, I'll give you an example. I went out to dinner, had a lovely evening. I went out for cold, raw, dead fish. It was amazing. Now, those of you who've ever eaten sushi, cold, raw, dead fish versus sushi. Okay. Those of you who've eaten sushi realize it is very delicious, but if you asked anybody to go out for cold, raw, dead fish, you would get very few takers versus, hey, what's that new sushi restaurant? Would you like to join me over there? Everybody who has ever gone for sushi realizes that is not like an inexpensive hot dog type of a meal. It's rather pricey, but it's the presentation and the wording that matter. Okay. And by the way, there's limited styling on these things, but I'll kind of style these up a little bit. Indeed. And I bet you if anybody asked you, for cold, raw, dead fish, you would be a little more hesitant. So let's carry on. Outside services already, or just WordPress. Now, this is going to be a factor on how quickly they move over. So for example, if I've got somebody like yesterday who is essentially using many of the components that would be a minute launch, like WooCommerce, maybe they're already familiar with WP Fusion. They have a forms plugin or something. Then it's an easier sell because this is where I emphasize the ownership and control and getting rid of this problem here. So actually, I'm going to cut this out and I'm going to put this as my primary thing here. If they have outside stuff, the world has delivered to us all a great gift. The great gift is essentially oligarchs gone mad, SaaS owners gone mad, Matt Mullenweg gone mad. Whether it be Zuckerberg or Musk or anybody else, there is infinite amounts, all of the firings and hirings and all that. There's an infinite number of people who have experienced, which I never thought I would see this again. The same thing that happened to me 20 years ago on the Ning platform with Mark Andreessen's company, where they just did this to 12,500 people because they didn't like what they were doing. When you say to somebody who has put their blood, sweat, tears, their life into building a business, and they have what I call an externality, externalities equal vulnerabilities, I emphasize to them, listen, have you read the news today? Oh boy, because today, every single thing that your company has that is not in your ownership and control, like it would be in the box of WordPress, is a vulnerability because either like Active Campaign, they're going to screw you over by changing your pricing overnight, or they're not going to like your politics and they're going to shut you down, or they're going to act like Mullenweg, and after 19 years, they're going to kick you out because he's having a tantrum in public and exposing everybody to all kinds of problems and risk, even in the face of lawsuits that are very expensive. Absolutely unnecessary in a world where they can own and control. Instead, one can own and control your own destiny, clients, operations, income, and more. Only two things you can't. Those two things are, I wish this tab thing worked better. Number one, payment gateway, Stripe or whatever. Number two, SMTP. There are dozens. You absolutely cannot get away in the world with doing payments yourself. You can't hold credit cards. There's no conversation. There's nothing to talk about. You just cannot do it. And similarly, you cannot do SMTP, or I'm going to put in here SMS, but I specifically say don't do SMS for a reason. It's annoying as all get out to people, but like, just, you need a reliable SMTP or SMS delivery partner, because otherwise nothing will get through. Now, I will make a side note here because I brought up the topic. I just do not like how Go High Level has told people to use SMS. It is the single most annoying thing that they do, and I'm not picking on them, but anybody who believes this scenario, okay, you come to my website and I have something that solves your pain. So I ask you innocently for a phone number for how we can talk in a private conversation. You in faith give that to me. What happens next? Spence, using my techniques, never call you, never text you, ever, never, never. Unless literally there was an appointment that we're supposed to be having and I know you needed to talk to me, I might text you like, I'm on the Zoom. Did you still want to come in? That's only if you don't answer email. What does Go High Level teach people to do? You've given out your phone number. Next thing you know, you annoy the living F out of people 24/7 with everything that you think is important. Hey man, I got this great deal for you. Well, guess what? I just happen to be sitting down to dinner with my kids. Or guess what? I happen to be just starting a live webinar. Or guess what? I don't want you to market to me via my cell phone, because that's the one last bastion of privacy I have as far as SMS is concerned, of people that know me only. And nobody else should be texting me unless I sign up for it. Like, my wife is giving birth or my kid's hockey game is about to start. Something that I personally need to know that's an emergency. But for God's sake, do not text anybody marketing stuff. That is the dumbest idea ever. Yes. Don't get started on some other technicalities. Kurt, good morning, by the way. I'm going to talk about some of the other technical stuff here because you bring up a good point. Technical nonsense with SaaS services. I'm going to do this in a second, but I want to bring the baby home one more time. Do not ever do SMS, because here's another reason. Last year, in I believe it was March or May, the FTC passed new legislation that makes it exponentially more difficult to set up SMS campaigns. You have to register as a sender. You have to register your campaigns. You have to go through so many hoops, only to have people hate your guts the first time you send them an unsolicited text message that you think's important, and they're just about to hang out with their partner for a nice romantic movie, and you blast them with some bullshit that you think's important. Don't do it. If you really want an idea, time machine travelers, make those postcards. Use one of those services that literally prints a postcard, because I actually subscribe to a service that the post office gives me that gives me like a preview digitally of what's coming in the mail. And I guarantee you, I only get one or two things a day in my mailbox. That's it, ever. If you sent me a postcard that had a cool picture and said, click here and go to my website to get this webinar, man, oh man, would I remember that. And that would be less than the cost of the bullshit of using SMS. Email, on the other hand, has a resurgence. Why? Because people have gotten used to the busyness of the channel. So even though it is still subject to annoying people, if you do things the right way, which I'll talk about in a minute, short, sweet, just like a text message, people actually can tolerate it. Kurt's bringing up a good point, which is the technical nonsense with SaaS services. Number one, the technicalities of having to send your domain stuff over is bullshit. It's bullshit. If you've already got a WordPress site and it's already got your domain pointed and it's already got whitelisted and it's already got all the things that you need and it costs less money and you can own it, control, why would any sane person, you or your clients, want to go to all the trouble to setting up another service that requires you to direct email, direct subdomain stuff? It's just a bunch of extra work that further locks you into a service that they don't like you, you're gone. Some of you asked me for it. Here's TechCrunch article. TechCrunch. Ning shuts down widget maker. Okay. August 22nd, 2008. One day, the lawyers for Mark Andreessen decided, what the F is going on? We dumped $100 million into this platform for free users, and these two clowns are making $30, $40, $50,000 a month, giving the people what they really want and selling it. Shut them down. All 12,500 people. This is happening daily today. So, I mean, 2008, now it's 2025. I didn't think that it'd be like, what is it, 15 years later? 17 years later. I didn't think that we'd be having more of the same bullshit, but it's worse than ever before. Okay. Matt Mullenweg doesn't like you. You've been here 19 years. Bye-bye. We've shut you down. I'm wearing that badge along with almost everybody that has contributed meaningfully to WordPress in the past. But what the joke is, it's on them because we don't need the platform of WordPress.org. We already have the software. Silly. Okay. So not having to do the technical nonsense. Thank you. That was awesome. Okay. Now let's talk about why there's benefits. So we're going to do some pricing stuff. How big is your list? How big is your list? How big is your list? I really need to learn. Here's why it matters. If the person has 0 equals, let's go. Literally, if they've just started out, there is 0 reason they need to cock around with this conversation. Just go. Let's go. Fluent CRM in the site. Big list equals, let's move the folks, maybe keep the money for temp, and then somewhere in between equals, let's coordinate. Now, what that means is if they've got a big list and it's charging money, then we're going to certainly keep the money rolling in. We're not going to change that off, but we're going to do the export and import of the folks from the big list to the new system so they can be given the proper tags and custom fields to work within the new system that is all CRM based using WordPress. And they will not miss anything, but the money will continue to be taken from the old system until they take you up on your invitation for, come on over to the new facility. I'll give you a free day pass. Oh, make sure we've got your credit card in place. Make sure we've got your address correct because we don't want you to miss out on this thing you're entitled to. If it's in between, what we might end up doing is doing something like a sale or like an onboarding. So in between would be a one-time invite form or sale of product. That is to say, free or paid, either works. We might say, listen, we love that you're our existing client and we want to make sure that you get into the new system properly. Fill out this form. But if it's for credit card information, I'd rather give them a free or a very discounted product, which gives them every incentive to just put their new credit card in there. They won't even think about it, right? This is a tripwire. Free or tripwire. Tripwire is for those of you who just woke up today, Tripwire is an inexpensive product that comes after your lead magnet. Lead magnet is your email in exchange for something free. Tripwire, thank you, Russell Brunson, is the thing that you ask for a credit card to be given, but it's usually under $10 or in today's world, under $19. because that way somebody can do it on impulse. Once you've got them registered and in the system and they give the credit card, guess what? You can unplug their old stuff and we can track how it goes. Okay, so let's do the tracking. Track the difference on migrations from old to new. Okay, so one list, these folks on old system. New list tracks those same folks as they come over. This is so you can change your incentive messages. What I mean by that is if we know that we've got two folks or two lists, the old system, new system, instead of dumping everybody manually into the new system, if I give an offer to the old folks and they have a tag, I'm on the old list, I can track if they saw the new offer, if they clicked the new offer, if they did the new offer. I will also be able to tell when they actually came over, because as soon as I get acknowledgement through a tag that they actually made it over and have their credit card, guess what? I can automatically remove them from the old system. And so what happens is if these were like height, it starts like this: 0 new list, all on old list. And over time, you're going to see it switch until you've got very few people here. All the while, you're still collecting money from anybody who has not come over. Okay. This is one that came up yesterday. And it is, have you got any ideas that are holding you back? So besides clutching pearls for not losing the income, a lot of people can actually be motivated by the Frankenstein pain that is incurred from having to manage their old setup. And let's bring up my favorite panel that has served me for 10 years. Somebody builds a Frankenstein monster because they don't know any better. WordPress really lends itself to that, or to shiny ball syndrome, which is the little old lady swallowed a fly, swallowed a spider, wriggled and jiggled inside of her. So in other words, by the time she's done, she swallowed 20 things to kind of fix the fact that she swallowed a spider. That is very similar to both the Frankenstein and shiny monster syndrome, which is somebody started a WordPress site. Over time, they had to keep putting in more features, more older fashioned tools, and they keep breaking. Then they hired this really smart guy from the Philippines or somewhere who never worked for the company or never did professional marketing, who did some custom functions PHP and a child theme or some plugin that connected to this, and under the bed is like a special key that you use on Tuesdays. And next thing you know, the entire business is paralyzed because you can't do even basic marketing automation. Huge incentive for folks to move. Okay. So Frankenstein, shiny ball, cost of outside services, or WordPress platform plugins. Now, I don't want to pick on anybody, but I'm going to pick on a couple people publicly for the business because they both are doing fine. One of them, who I love as a person and entrepreneur, and I think they sold the business, was Access Ally, Nathalie Luther and her husband. I think they've sold it, so it's a safe bet that from day one of them launching that, I explained to her publicly that is a gargantuan mistake because they tried to essentially make a unique, very specific platform where everything ran the opposite direction on the highway from all the other plugins. It was, if you committed to Access Ally, you were essentially shunning using everything else in WordPress. And I said, that is the dumbest idea ever, Nathalie, because you're just forcing me and everybody else to ban you from our conversations because we're trying to drive on the highway and have everything coordinated. And you've built something that goes upstream of that. The other one is, I can't fault him for it, but like Adrian Toby at Groundhog, which started at the same time as Fluent CRM. And I said to Adrian, because we used to be on shows together, Adrian, for the love of all that's good, please do not build a platform instead of a plugin. But that's what, in fact, he has done. And that is why I do not recommend Groundhog. I recommend Fluent CRM, which acts like a plugin, acts with the features we need, plays nice with everything. Oh, and Sharon has confirmed Elementor bought Access Ally. God help all of you that want to use Access Ally. By the way, there's some legacy stuff here, and I'm not slamming these because these are necessary tools in the day. Membarium, MemberPress, Paid Memberships Pro. The Colemans, good pals of mine. They're over at Lifter LMS. Amazing people. Nobody should be using a paid membership plugin in a world where we've got WooCommerce and a CRM with tags, because WooCommerce is won the war as far as being the transactional engine that works with everything under the sun. And you, by the way, have to overcome some people's past experience. And when you combine it with a CRM, you're selling tags that give access or control or do everything. There's nothing left for a membership plugin to do. And when you use things like Membarium, especially, you're asking for a nightmare. The depth that thing gets into messing with your whole environment is almost irrecoverable. Once you start doing it, you can't get back. There's other ones that I was there at the founding. Mighty, was it MemberMouse? Mighty MemberMouse. MemberMouse. I remember back in the days when I worked with Wistia, when they first got started, the folks, the really nice guys who started MemberMouse because there wasn't anything else. But that's gone by the wayside. Wishlist Member, Stu McLaren. Dinosaur. No membership plugins. No need for anything else. The cost and complexity goes away. So by getting rid of things, getting rid of more equals success. Ownership. Calm. The less you have, according to Marie Kondo, who, by the way, I think sold out because she had kids. Marie Kondo was my simplicity Japanese. I mean, she was my idol. And then I learned from somebody that now she had kids and she doesn't do the thing, throw everything out unless it gives you joy. That's what she used to say. And I still say that. But apparently somebody told me kids broke her. I wonder if I got to do a follow-up. I'm not going to do it now, but I think she changed. Did she change her motto? I'm sure somebody has written about it. Oh, here it is. I hate to say it, but she's brilliant, because I've been talking about this since forever, because I've had kids for 25 years. Anybody who doesn't have kids can do a lot of cool shit in the world. As soon as you have kids, let me get a high five from anybody. Kids wrecks your brain in a beautiful way, by the way. But you do not think of the world the same way. So I actually love that this happened, and I completely respect her. But like, you can still tell somebody the Marie Kondo stuff. I'm going to have to read this article after we're done. But like, trying to tidy up drawers was not as big a priority as spending time with the human beings in your life, which I am 100% in favor of. Okay. I'm going to give her a quote here, Marie Kondo. Okay. Next, we already kind of dipped into this cost comparison, but let's do a breakdown of what people have, like minute launch versus otherwise. I already kind of went into this. So minute launch equals $97 a month. That's it. Okay, we're done. It was nice to see you guys. I'll talk to you next week. Not quite. But let's actually break this down more. Unlimited use of the software. Unlimited email to Spence through you. One site, one hosted site, could be the sandbox or model. So it is fair to say I cannot give you unlimited hosted sites. I'm getting them from Rocket as a pass-through, and I'm being transparent that I'm giving you 33% off of retail for something that WP Engine charges $150 a month for. That's a crime. Maybe 55 if I think they changed the pricing. But that's 30 retail you get for 20. But even if you use it for your sandbox or your model, you can use the same thing we started with today and get your own agency account, or just have the clients pay for it. You're going to need a separate host for each client, of course. That's just unrealistic. When you talk about go high level, anybody who's used this knows this is not as easy as it seems. Some of you referred, I think it was Sharon, or maybe it was Kurt. Yeah, maybe it was Kurt, but like the nightmare of trying to deal with clients on go high level. Here's one nightmare. You as the administrator cannot use your same email for all your clients unless you're willing to manage a a different password for every site. So whoever wrote the code, mind blown, don't understand this, decided that it's okay for the administrator who has 100 clients to use the same email to log into all of them, but only if you use a different password on every single client. What the fuck is that? What? Sorry for swearing, but what? Where in the universe does that exist? So what I had to do with Go High Level is I had to make up placeholder emails for every client. My client name at Lab Secrets. Whereas you don't have to play those games. You can manage 100, 200, a million clients with WordPress using the systems that we have, and it's easy. So that one sandbox could be your model, and then the clients get their own sites. I've also got tools in there for the advanced users who can sell with WooCommerce like I do. So if you want to actually sell your sites, you can just do that. They buy a subscription from WooCommerce. It launches it on Rocket for you if you don't get it from me directly. Okay. The big difference on how I actually think you're going to make your money is on the personal services. Okay. Personal service is your business. So let's use a comparison because this is a big deal for you to explain to your customers or you to understand yourself. When I give somebody $97 for this, that's $20 goes to you as an affiliate. I make 77 bucks. I got to pay 10 bucks to Rocket. I'm at 67 bucks. So for a full affiliate with the cost of hosting, I'm at 67 bucks and I'm on the hook to answer emails, but emails seem to be pretty good. Why would I be so dumb as to do that? 67 bucks a month doesn't sound like a lot, Spence, to be responsible for all that. Well, actually, it's a shit ton of money for that. Here's why. Number one, by keeping everybody on the system, productizing the system equals efficiency. IKEA. Spence is IKEA. By keeping everybody on the software bundle, by keeping everybody with the recipes using the same ingredients, I've reduced this panel to nearly zero. Not zero, because Sandy, if you're out there, I love you. Sandy Ellington and a couple others, I love you guys because you continue to surprise me with things you come up with. But that's what makes it better for me, because the more you guys continue to come up with things I never anticipated, the more I can smooth over those round edges and build them into the system so that eventually, and I think that's not even far from where I'm at today, I will have everything possible documented like a normal SaaS platform, except it has all of the benefits of the ownership and control. And I love that you guys are participatory in helping with that. And I give you high fives in public because I wouldn't be anywhere without that kind of enthusiastic creativity. So productizing the system means that what I'm really selling is the stuff that happens after somebody gets in. So either on the first try, somebody says, well, it'd be nice if I took home the Spence do-it-yourself system and followed his instructions, but I'd really do better if Spence sat down with me for an hour on a Zoom call. So 1 hour plus the support bundle. That's $300 one time plus $97 a month. After I pay the affiliates, you guys, after I pay Rocket, that's 67 times 10 is 670 plus another 130. I'm at like $800 a year. So that's 1,100 bucks every single time. There's almost nobody that comes into a call with me and goes through this process that doesn't want to switch over or use the system, because this has 6,500 bucks of software that as an agency, I'm allowed to give to you because it's open source. It has the recipes, the unlimited email. Hey, Spence, what is the story? But what really happens is after that first hour and I get everybody rolling, everybody's hooked. They're just hooked because you guys are here for this. They're hooked on how incredibly simple and easy and fun and beneficial and powerful this is. So what happens is I invite them, let's have a call with you and your client, or let's have a call with you. And I will outline which of these other three things I'll commit to. Maybe call it MVP, Pro, or VIP. This is like a week. I'm kind of watching the clock, but not totally closely. This is like a couple weeks, but the VIP is where I give everything. I say, listen, I can commit to being your top level expertise across the marketing, the membership, the marketing automation, the sales funnels, the e-commerce. I can do everything you need using my expertise. I don't have my yellow vest on here at IKEA because I've figured out through thousands upon thousands of people what it is that you need. And I'm 100% sure that we either have it in the back room and I can grab it for you, or if not, I will build a tool like the Fluent Community Customizer or Manager, because all I need to do is glue together two pieces in a way that makes a permanent new Lego or a new part to put on the showroom of IKEA or the Lego store. And that's how I fill up my calendar 4 or 5, 6, sometimes a month, VIP clients, plus the subscription revenue. And yet I have time to hang out like Marie Kondo with my kids, to work on my back. I work a couple hours a day in between my other stuff. And it's not for lack of work. It's not the bullshit Tim Ferriss stuff. It is that the 3 or 4 or 5 hours I work is for money instead of not for money. Do you see the difference? So over here, productizing the system efficiency, focus on only working for money, not for free. That's a big psychological jump. And I don't think Anna's here today, but she and I were talking about this and she is totally on board. If you have a choice between two customers or for yourself, if it's your business, oh, I'm going to give all my shit away for free versus I'm going to charge. If you can't honestly start charging right away for the things that you're giving, you are on the way to out of business. Okay. Tim Ferriss had some great ideas at the time, and I like him as an author. He is 15 years out of date with, I don't think he's pushing anything these days. He's into health and other stuff. But like, if you took the 4-hour work week, the underlying concept is okay, but the methodologies are out the door because the world is a much different place. Technologically, there's a 17-year-old, if not a 58-year-old, who's literally going to eat your lunch in 2 seconds with AI tools and leverage, versus in those days, there was a lot of infrastructure costs. There was a lot of technological knowledge costs. There was a lot of gatekeeper costs and so forth. Okay. So by focusing only on the thing that makes you money, you win. Now let's go back to what the hell does that mean? If you are doing the minute launch for clients, you make $20 a month just pointing them upstream and letting me manage the platform. It's $240 a year, free money, nothing you have to do. When you actually put in place what's to be done, you're going to charge $97 a month to be their implementer. You're going to be their frontline person on your own. So it's not $97 they're charged. You're going to charge them $97 for you, and they're going to pay me, in this case, $97, of which you get $20. So you get $117, I get $77. And then I give another 10 to Rocket. I get down to my 67. You make 117, and you don't have to worry about any of the technology or the platform stuff. You just have to worry about which recipe should I engage this person on. And then you have an excuse as to why you are going to charge the 300, 1250, 2500, or 5. So if I go down to here, you are going to parallel by charging likewise for hands-on support. Some client wants to do some really cool magic trick that requires a conversation on Zoom. Give them 15 minutes free on Zoom. Then say that idea you have is going to be 2 hours of work, $600. I am not joking with you. This week, I've had 2 different clients pay me $600 for things that took me 15 minutes to do. Why? Because I don't have to charge literally with click, starting the stopwatch, click, I'm done. I can say the value of this thing I'm giving you is equal to $300 an hour, $600 for what you want, even if it takes me 10 minutes or 5 minutes or 1 minute, because there's the story of the locksmith. If you are talking about a locksmith, there's a big difference on what you're going to be happily willing to pay them to get you into your locked out of car. If you are in front of the locksmith shop in a contemporary city, with a Starbucks and a bus and other alternatives, versus being in the desert with no water and your kid is locked in the car in a car seat, God forbid, you will pay any amount of money for that locksmith to come out and open your car door to rescue your kid and get you on your way. If you're in the city and that same locksmith who you would have gladly given $500 to just go click with this little tool, if he tried to do that in front of his shop in a big busy city with a Starbucks and a restaurant next door, you'd be like, what? $500? That's why I find it offensive that these guys charge these prices. That's why I find Salesforce offensive in today's world. HubSpot offensive in today's world. Why? Because I remember the days when they used to charge you 25 cents for a text message because they could get away with it. I find it offensive that I have 17 subscriptions. Let me hear a high five. 17 subscriptions to every single one of those a la carte TV providers now because I didn't want to pay $140 cable. Now I'm paying $400 a month in a la carte services because they all ripped everybody off as soon as they got signed up. Don't be them. Be the person that delivers the value proportional to the conditions and the situation of how desperately and how valuable the things are for the person you're giving it to or for yourself. So if you have a customer that meets these other criterion and it's like, whoa, I'm going to save you $17,000 from moving off of HubSpot. And whoa, I'm going to save you from buying $6,500 a year in software and WordPress. And whoa, your hosting with the best host is only going to cost $20 a month. Whoa, you don't have to sell anything. They're like the person in the desert who's like, just here, take my card. Okay. But don't forget, you're not selling the software. You're not selling WordPress. You're not selling the build out. You're selling the outcome. You're selling the pain solution. So when I sell the launch kit, minute launch, I'm selling a system like IKEA does to get an outcome. You want a membership site, a community site. You want e-commerce. You want marketing automation. You want to know who your customers are and what their journey is. You want to make more money in less time with less stress. You want to be owning and controlling it instead of being at the destiny of an oligarch maniac or even a wannabe oligarch maniac like Mullenweg is lately with going after the actual people paying them the money. Like, I don't know what's wrong with this country that entrepreneurship has turned into a bloody Rocky Balboa fight with your own customers. Like, what the hell has happened? I literally do not understand how anybody thinks that's going to end well for them, right? Attacking the very people that are making you into rich. Okay. So don't be that way. Just don't. Okay. When we actually compare the costs, I'm going to need to take a Valium. All right, I'm just kidding. I'm actually enjoying this. This is my service to humanity thing. You guys are smart, whether you use it yourself or you go and spread the word. Those of us who understand common sense need to speak up. Thank you, Dr. Krieger, one of my favorite speaker uppers. Okay. We need to speak out like the Emperor's New Clothes kid, that this is not right. This isn't normal. I don't care if you're right wing, left wing, up and down, you want to be an oligarch. Don't screw the people who basically gotten you where you're going. It's so simple, the golden rule. Okay. But here's what I'm going to say. Thank you, Dr. Krieger. And you're a doctor, so it means more. Cost comparison. If you go to these other platforms, you're going to end up spending platforms equal thousands. Even if you're at, let's say, Active Campaign's bullshit. Even if you're at Active Campaign, right? Active Campaign is going to end up costing you $250 to $500 a month if you even have a normal business. Don't believe any of this bullshit because you're going to have a normal business. You're going to have 5,000 or so people on it, right? And you're going to be at $375 a month. Okay. Simple math. That's $3,750 plus $600 to $750. That's $4,500 a year just for the frickin' CRM. Are you kidding me? Let alone what you have to pay in expenses for, your 2.9%, obviously, that's going to go to the transaction. And then you're going to have to pay for somebody that's an expert in Active Campaign, probably some API bullshit and some connectivity bullshit versus not. Like $97 a month or just the software bundle is $970 a year. So versus $470, if you just do the software, do your own hosting and stuff, no support, or $970. There's no comparison. Plus, if you're sending somebody upstream, that's where I'm telling you, you guys make money by putting people into the platform of Minute Launch, because I take care of all the hard stuff. You've got a one-to-one relationship with me and your client. I will help you sell your services to them if you need my help. But once they're in there, you should be on the same monthly charge as well. So you're getting 20 from me plus 97 is 117. You win. I win. The client wins. And guess what? They can leave at any time. They can say, bye, Sharon, bye, Dr. Krieger, bye, Kurt, bye, Ann, bye, Spence, because that's the relationship they want. Not, I'm going to lock you out of 18 years of your WordPress stuff because I'm a dick. And I'm not using names, so you can figure out who I mean by that. But like, I no longer can log in under my old account where all my stuff was at WordPress.org after 18 years because I told the emperor that he wasn't wearing clothes. Boo-hoo. Okay. There's the time benefit, okay? How much is someone's time worth? That's all I got. That's valuable. If you ask somebody who's over 25, okay, show a timeline of years left as a Gen X. If you ask a 25-year-old, they have no concept what you're talking about. If you ask a Gen Xer how much time you have left, everybody's going to have the same thing. They have this with dots. There's this little thing that you can have that's like, how many dots, how many days, how many weeks do I have left? Let's do this. If I'm 58, how many weeks do I have left to live? This, okay? This is what Gen Xers wake up to and think about. Now, maybe you think about this when you're younger too, but I doubt it. I mean, I never did. I never thought about this until, let's put in my birthday, November. That's not my real birthday, but it's the same year. Okay. I've got 58 years. I want to make this chart. Let's see if it'll make the chart. Graphical age. There we go. I think I'm going to go cry because this makes me a little sad. But look at, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 out of 9 rows filled. I'm screwed. This is my first trimester. Remember I talk about the second trimester? So my second trimester is going to, get going at 60. I got a couple more weeks left in here. But then these last 3 boxes, that's all I got. So if you come to me and say, hey man, I'm going to save you a ton of time, I'm like, you had me at hello. And I think your customers will as well. Just make sure you're dealing with somebody that's at the same mindset, right? Don't talk to a 25-year-old because a 25-year-old is right here. They're like, I got 1,000,000 years left. Everything is possible. Okay. I'm going to wrap up because I'm over time. Yeah. You're like 47 though, Sharon, just like me. All right. I want to thank you guys for coming today. This was a little different. I'm going to actually publish this as is. So I'm going to give you the link here. I don't know what I'll do with this. Maybe I'll put the video in here and stuff, but I just want you guys to have it. So I'll put it into YouTube, into the chat. I want to thank everybody who came today because honestly, I've been having a great 2025 of facing up to my biggest aspirations, fears, needs, wants. I have been doing the things that those of us who are in my position need to do, I think, which is I need to look at what is it that I want to do with the rest of my life in a world where some of the people my age and older are trying to literally tank the world. And at the same time, the world is changing in a good way with technology. And I have kids that are in their 20s, someone that's in his teens. I want to be around. I want to be financially stable, secure. I want to have the basics of life. I don't need to win the game of having all the money because I want my fellow human beings to live a life that we were all promised when as a kid I watched the Jetsons. And I thought that I would be working at Spacely Sprockets, having a good job, living in a floating thing with a robot maid and a flying car. Instead, I have a lunatic Nazi oligarch trying to destroy my country and current administration who feels that 50 to 60% of the country should be crushed and killed. And I don't want to live in that world. So for me, I'm not trying to get political, but I am saying that I have one thing I can do about it. I can help you and other people understand there's an alternative way where I don't care your race, your creed, your color, your financial orientation. I don't care about your politics. Follow the golden rule. Do less about things that don't have to do with human relationships. Treat other people like your family. Give them what they need. And that will help all of us. That is what I'm here for you guys. I love you. I respect you. If I'm a crazy person, you tell me and I will admit to it and I will do the things to make it right. I don't know why that's so hard for rich people because I've been a multimillionaire and I've been bankrupt and it didn't change the way I viewed people. But there is a disease that needs to be cured in this country and in this world. And I honestly do feel that the right thing to do is for all of the human beings to stand up and that will win. There are more normal people in the world than not. We don't need to let 4 crazy lunatic oligarchs and whoever they pay for ruin it for the rest of us. So sorry for my little soapbox, but things have gotten really weird. And even in WordPress, Matt can deal with the court system and he can deal with all the consequences. I've asked him directly a dozen times, can you please come back, come down to earth? And he doubles, triples, quadruples down. So whether it be WordPress or the bigger picture, please treat somebody you know with respect today and dignity. Do something good for somebody. Even if you don't like somebody because of what they're saying today's politics, they're probably drinking the Kool-Aid and they can come around if they realize that they're human beings first. Hope you have an amazing weekend. I'm going to do my meditations and my walks. I'm looking forward to spring. I bought a new e-bike. Do something fun. Let's do creative stuff together. And I'll see you on the next show. Peace.